Then start making it online.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone wants to do that, yeah. It's called, yes, it's like, and it's short. Yeah. So, yeah, I was introduced. It's usually.
Oh, what should
Well, I look at this, I don't know, I didn't. We can go right back. Here we go. That's if you like.
85. Morning, Ben.
Morning, Sam. How are you?
Good.
I
And we are set.
Well, good morning, everyone. We will now call our meeting to order. We have a forum of board members, and with that, let's get started. I'll call the meeting to order. It is now by my clock 7:35 a.m. on Thursday, December the 7th, and may we have a roll call.
Absolutely. Good morning. Wallace.
Here.
Clark. Here. Harvey.
Here.
White. Mayor Snyder.
Thank you. So we will have short invocation from one of our local ministers. Best man, right in the center there, sir, and your microphone should be on.
Thank you. Paul Kane, I'm service pastor at St. Paul Lutheran Church, and happy to be here. Let's pray. Gracious Father, on a day that was to live in infamy, we thank you, Lord, for the preservation of this nation. But under your hand, we ask you to renew and restore us, even as we pray, Lord, that particular blessing on the city of Albion. Lord, this place has been wonderfully blessed in the past, but it's definitely in need of renewal to that. And Lord, grant to these people wisdom and understanding, heaven's perspective on earth, that good might come to all. Lord, as you are a rewarder of those who seek you, and Lord, you are a judge of those who would dismiss you. We look to you. From your hand, Lord, comes every good and perfect gift. To that end, Lord, gift again these people with insight, wisdom, understanding, cooperation, and success at what they put their hands to. Lord, we ask this according to your mercy, your blessing, as you indicated that to the whole world through the gift of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, in whose name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, we will have a pledge of allegiance. I'll ask that you stand and address our nation's flag. And Ben, if you will lead us, I appreciate it. Oh, sure.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item is item 4, to approve the agenda. You've been all presented with an agenda. And we also have been presented agenda prior to the meeting. With that, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I will motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Second, it's been moved and second. Is discussion in order? No.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. I think it is noteworthy, if I understand, that our council is joined us by way of Zoom. He is?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's noteworthy that our council is on Zoom this morning versus being physically here in the building. Okay.
And I also mentioned we have a new team member this morning. Christina Crawford has joined us to work on the AV equipment. So we're bolstering our team by including more people so that we can serve the city of Albion.
Very good. Good. Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
problem.
Yeah. We continue to appreciate our existing team members in Ms. Williams as well. Thank you. Yeah. With that, item 5 is public comment. We have a small gallery here with us today in the chambers. Is there anyone in the chambers that would like to have public comment? With that being said, we'll turn to our Zoom friends. Is there anyone on the Zoom system that would like to have a public comment this morning?
Nobody's got their hand up.
Okay, all right. Seeing that there are no hands in the Zoom, we will move along to the CEO's and President's report, item number 6. Ms. Emmerman?
Great, thank you. So page 3 is the president's report. This month, so brief. I tried to outline it based on the proposed evaluation process that we will be voting on later today. So the 4 competencies that we're looking to make sure that is happening in this particular arena would be our governance competencies. In that area, we've been developing policies and arranging for strategic planning. In our leadership competencies, we've had regular board communications and we are sponsoring team events. In the communication relation competencies, we are establishing and reestablishing relationships. And in fiscal management competencies, we've accomplished the 2024 budget, and today we will finalize 2023 amended budget. The next part of the proposed strategy for this year's CEO's responsibilities are the EDC multicultural 10-point plan goals. And in those areas, we've been accomplishing collaborating with multiple partners on apprenticeship and training programs, identifying environmental rehabilitation needs and resources, and partnering with the SBDC and the Chamber of Commerce on behalf of entrepreneurs. The third segment of the proposed plan is our items related to the EDC 5-year plan goals. In that area, we've been working on East Albion Industrial Park, site readiness and land accumulation. We've been working on supporting expansions in the West Albion Industrial Park, and we're working to build staffing capacity. And in the final section of the proposed plan would be the housing champion goals. In those areas, we are working on the Woda Cooper housing development. We know that they have already applied, and they will know if they have won the award in April. Supporting the Washington Gardner Junior High housing development, supporting lot by lot housing development. And in that area, I'm trying to reach back to the intern that we had on staff who did a great analysis on that. I'm just trying to reach him. I hope I can gather some information from him over the holiday when he's home from school. And I can't find the information that he did. I'm sure it's here, but I just can't find it. And then supporting preservation of housing via the My Hope grant dollars. That's really Tequela's baby, so she's managing that for us. Investigating housing research outcomes from summer 2023 intern, that was what I was talking about, trying to find those outcomes. And then bringing Brook Street lofts brownfield reimbursement up to date. And I believe we voted on that at the last meeting, so those are the areas that we're focusing on currently.
So Virgie, just a real quick question, in the portion of the intern that you had over the summer, right, what was that project about? Maybe you could just share that for board members so that they have a better understanding of what that was about.
Sure, so thank you for that question. We had an intern, was grateful to have Vikram Strander with us. And his assignments were, and what he was passionate about was researching housing here in the city of Albion. He had a very strategic plan around analyzing lot by lot by lot. Miss Reed and I went out on occasion together to identify the lots that we need serious help with. And so we kind of categorized lot by lot, what was maybe available and what needed major reinvestments, what was needed some lawn care. And so some of those lawn care items went to the city for research, and then some of those that need significant rehabilitation that Vikram had on the schedule. And so we have, something like, here's all the lots, individual lots land bank owns, here's all the lots that are owned by individuals, here's the lots that are owned by somebody out of state. I think city council person Andy French had asked how many lots are owned out of state. So we were trying to really assess how the ownership in the city is split up. And then from that, our plan was to have the ability to come into the office and say, are you looking for a lot to rehabilitate? Here's a group that we know that does it, let's connect those dots. And so we were trying to build a bridge from what we have to what we want. And then those players in the middle, the partners, stakeholders could invest. So I know we did a fabulous job, I just can't find it, so I'm just hoping to locate it.
And part of the goals there were to enable people locally who wanted to buy a lot, right? To invest in it for building or taking care of it, to be better able to identify who owned the lot for that potential building of a home or something along those lines.
That's correct,
Okay.
right, and to help facilitate that, people have a lot of questions about how, like, who owns this, how do I get a hold of them, so we were trying to really connect,
Right.
connect those dots.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So I have a question. For the 5-year plan, as far as the industrial park and all of that, and then we go down at the bottom, when we're looking at Brick Street lofts, what are we doing as far as looking for the buildings below the Brick Street lofts, as far as having people, is that a part of one of these plans and it's just not mentioned like that? They have people occupy that other than entrepreneurs in the city.
The Brick Street lofts is in the 400 block, but maybe we're talking about ours. They have land plan on the 200 block.
Yeah,
So yeah, we are working with that developer. If I were to categorize that somewhere, I'd probably put it in the 5-year plan. Because it's a combination of housing upstairs and commercial downstairs. So working with entrepreneurs to help ready them and qualify them to take ownership of those spaces from a lease perspective is definitely something we're working on.
but that's just entrepreneurs, so I'm talking about businesses already established. For instance, Albion has nowhere where you can buy shoes. Are we looking at things like that, where you could have, a shoe department come in and take one of those spaces and
Yeah.
occupy it, and that's what I'm saying. So I think that should be incorporated in your 5-year plan, that's, also looking at commercial for that area.
Okay, thank you. One question?
Okay, all right, great, thank you for the president's report. Virgie, I'll ask that you take up the gauntlet at this point with item 7, focus on administrative kinds of things, right?
Yes, I just brought with me today the annual conflict of interest forms that we would need to have signed and returned to me. So, Lindsay was nice enough to also print the policy in case there's any question about why we're doing this. We do this part annually. You might remember that you also did a confidentiality statement. Those last your whole board term, so that was not something you'd have to do again. So you might remember signing 2 documents, but this is the only one that is annual.
And am I correct in understanding, just as a refresher, actually for me as well, in our viewing gallery and our Zoom audience, the annual conflict of interest is a method by which of providing the EDC the confidentiality between its board members and those development ideas that may need confidentiality.
I think the confidentiality agreement that's in place already, that is the permanent form, definitely covers anything that is not known to the public, should not be disclosed to the public prior to, and being acted on at the EDC level. This conflict of interest should say that if you currently are invested somewhere or interested in being invested, or have a conflict that you want to disclose, this is the place to do it. And if you don't disclose it, then it's not appropriate to continue both actions. So I'm not saying you can't do both, but you need to disclose it on this form.
Excellent.
So between the confidentiality agreement and this conflict of interest policy, these both are transparency tools that would be appropriate.
Okay, okay, all right, thank you. All right, so you'll pass those around and hopefully we'll get them signed as we can.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, item number 8.
Item number 8 is update on your board members. At the last board meeting, there was a motion passed to encourage the mayor to appoint new board members for the EDC, and on page 4, you'll see a copy of that letter. It was delivered to the mayor via email, and I believe all of you were copied on that email. So this is, and the city manager also. So this is the letter that we agreed to last meeting, and so we've now stated our case that we would really appreciate getting our seats filled, as it's really holding us back on being productive.
If my notes are correct, Vicki, this was something that you requested with our last meeting that we put forward a letter, so that letter has been done and under my signature, it has been gone, it has been respectfully sent to the mayor's office there, so it's done, and I think all of you have a copy of it.
So what are we doing for from here? So she's got the letter, she hasn't responded yet, and what's the next step? Because the reason why I'm saying that is I understand that some of the reasoning of why she has made statements saying that she didn't want to fill the seats. I'm not gonna challenge her on that, that's a personal opinion, so I'm not gonna challenge her, but what I am challenging, there was 2 other seats that was available that we had voted in as a committee. That has nothing to do with the decision that she made about the other seats, so. I would like to know why she's not filling those seats. It's been a long time for her not to fill them. So we should expect,
Are you giving me a direction? I'm asking. Is that a direction?
well,
or-
she's got the letter, so I'm just making sure that it's noted that she should be replying to that in some form.
Okay,
So we understand.
okay. All right, thank you.
I think we'll keep this item as a standing agenda item, so we can continue to get updates
Yes,
and report it. So this will stay on the presentation.
Yes. Yes, okay. Let's go on to the next item.
The next item are the task force or group, report updates. Because I know that we have a really long agenda today, I'm not necessarily going to take a lot of time on updates. I will say that Tequila Williams is working in the ops area for us, and I don't know, Tequila, if you wanna say anything about the Albion restaurant group or the, CSA task force, which we know isn't really functioning yet, or the community engagement task force, if you wanna give an update on any of those, we'd be happy to have that. But I don't wanna put you on the spot if you're not ready, so totally up to you.
I'm totally not ready.
Okay, so I will tell you what I will tell you what I know, is that the Albion Restaurant Group, continues a lot live and in person. They'll be meeting once a month. And later we'll see the schedule that's been promoted for that, so hopefully we'll stay something close to that. And I think Taylor Sandoval is working with you on that particular committee.
Yeah.
So we really like that committee. I had somebody just yesterday ask me about wanting to do a barbecue place. And so I would, once we had that team back up and running, I would immediately call them and say, you wanna talk with them? So what are the resources? How do we get started? Where can we be? So it's something specific to restaurants because it's a very unique, business development action. So this is really the business development team for restaurants. So we're really excited about that. The Children's Savings Account Task Force, we have not begun the work there because there's not an open slot yet. So we will wait for a slot and then we will fill that slot at the state. The Community Engagement Task Force, this is the task force that we're using when we need a survey from the communities or when we want to get community input on a development project or when we want to have an event. So Tequila's been great with helping with our open house that we had a couple weeks ago. We had another one last night. It was kind of brief. It was a little bit impromptu because it was part of the block, the Christmas block party. So we had a good time there. So Tequila's doing a great job with that community engagement piece. I will skip to the Match on Main Task Force because that also is in Tequila's wheelhouse now. So she is working diligently with the two current, winners of the Match on Main. So we have, two folks. One, I think she just wrapped up the project. The paperwork was all due on November 30th. And,
Thank you.
On the executive board, we did meet last week, and, the purpose of that meeting, of course, was to set this week's agenda and to cover anything that we needed to cover. We have minutes for those that would be available. The takeaway from that was I needed to get a better copy of the financials, which we do have for today. The housing task force, has not yet started meeting again, although people are calling and asking, so definitely want to get that off the ground. If I could locate that information I was looking for earlier, that would really be a stepping stone to progress there and success. The Industry and Business Attraction Task Force, again, we'll start meeting again in January, and this task force is dealing mostly with, the new industrial park and those feeder systems, for the Ford plant. We also would incorporate in this what Vicki had talked about, trying to fill the places downtown, uptown. So uptown for me is North Eden, and downtown is Superior, and then we have Austin Avenue, which is whatever we want to call the town. So we have, lots of places to fill, and so those are the areas that we will be focusing on with that task force. Nominating task force, I think, was active this week, and we'll hear from them later. Revolving loan fund committee did meet, and we'll hear some of their requests, this week. And then workforce development, this is the team that we focus most closely with, people like Ben and Scott Crumley from KCC and Mark from MMTTC, and the areas that we really are working on, apprenticeships and training to support the rural plan. So that's the work of the workforce development task force.
Well, good news is that, you know, I actually participated in one, task force meetings this week, and it looked as though we had a good set of folks there and working diligently on some additional loans for small business people. So that is good. We want to see those committees get active and going and meeting community. So that's real good. All right, let's go on.
Item number 10, there's nothing on the consent agenda. Again, at some point we'll begin to use that in a better fashion, so I'm just keeping it there. Number 11, review and approve November 2nd board meeting minutes and November 20th special board meeting minutes. So in your packet are meeting minutes. November 2nd is page 5 and 6, and the special meeting we had on the 20th, where we approved the budget and the contract, I think, or the handbook, the budget and the handbook, sorry. Lots of meetings, that's on page 7 and 8.
Okay. All right, these are action items that we will need to take a vote on, is that correct?
Yeah, you could do them together or separate.
Okay. All right.
I would make a motion that we approve the board meeting minutes for November 2nd.
Do I hear a second support? It's been moved, it's been supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you. The next item is the treasurer's report, which begins on page 9. Put this together a little differently. From from my personal preference is to review the balance sheet and the activity statement together, so you'll see the first page on page 9 is Fund 243, that's the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. So at this point, this is the end of October, so there's $176,000 in investments in that fund. And then if you go to page 10, you'll see the activity that has occurred there. So this is the brownfield again. This is kind of an in and out fund for us. We get dollars in that need to go out to developers for their project that have been completed. And this is the reimbursement for their eligible costs. So this is not a revenue generator for us because the money comes in, the money goes out to the particular constituents, and then for the most part, the admin fee that we take in from the brownfield plans then reverts back to the city in the admin fee line. So you'll see we're operating at a positive $9,000. I'm sorry, looking at the budget. We're operating at a negative right now because the property tax revenues have not been reported. So I think we've talked about this in the past, that it would be ideal if there's a placeholder put in during the year, because this doesn't happen at the city's accounting system until January or so, when they're wrapping up December. So it's a bit difficult to know whether you're upside down or not, but that's the standard practice, is they don't record those property tax revenues and transfers in until the end of the year. So I'm confident that there will be enough revenue there, but I don't have any insight as to what's been recorded. Fund 244, economic development. This item, this shows that you have about 640,000 in cash. You have some deferred revenue, which is projects in place that people have put deposits on. And on the next page, you'll see, if I'm looking at the right column this time, the year-to-date balances, October, you have revenues of 587,000. And on the next page, you'll have expenses of 190. So you'll see you have quite a buffer this year, and that's because we had that large sale of property. So to the extent that we will probably utilize some of those funds next year. So as we're in a growth state, so we would anticipate that would be we did discuss that during the budget. So although we're in a huge positive state, we're still operating to budget. So we're not against the budget at this point. So Fund 247 is the TIFA fund. These are the pieces of property that are located in the current industrial park, the West Industrial Park. And these are the captures that we're allowed to capture into this fund in order to help run operations. So these dollars should be used to attract new developers and continue to grow the city. So currently you've got about 390,000 in cash in that account. And I have asked a couple of questions on some. You'll notice there's an interest receivable balance of $537.74, and then there's a deposits payable of $1384.11. Between the city finance person and I, we're not able to identify what those balances are, so those will be written off. They're historical numbers that have been there about 10 years. So we're going to write those off because we don't have any information about those. Year to date, on page 13, the year to date balance, you'll see again, there's the revenue. Front page. So page 15 is the revenue for the TIFA at this point is sitting at about 124,000. That includes part of the sale of asset, because it was the asset was reported on one balance sheet, part on the other, so the proceeds were split between the two funds. Again, we do not have all the property taxes indicated on this line item, and that happens at the end of the year, so hopefully I have no doubt it'll be, open to budget, it just doesn't happen until later. And then, the expenses are, below budget, so that shouldn't be an issue at this point. The final fund is the revolving loan fund, that's 296. You've got 424,000 in cash. In that fund, those dollars should be out in the community being utilized, so that's the role of the revolving loan fund committee, is to try to find more places to invest in the community with those dollars. And then you'll see that this fund almost never has revenue and expenses, because we can't charge the fund for any working expenses. So that work is done in the EDC office, but we don't charge any of that to them, because we can't, because the money here is meant to be in the community, not supporting administration. We do however report revenue interest, and so the only revenue you see is 15,000 in interest year to date. So in totality, if you're looking at, page 19, you'll see the totals. All funds have brought in 734,000 this year, all funds expenditures 416, with a net of 317. So the expenses were much higher in the budget, because we haven't, accomplished some of our ideal administrative increases. We haven't increased salaries the way we were hoping to be able to increase programming, so that will happen again in the year 2024 as we continue to rebuild EDC. And that is all I have for the treasurer's report.
Questions, board members? Questions or comments? Well, hearing none, may I?
I'd make a motion to approve the October 23 treasury report.
Ben, thank you very much. Do I hear a second?
You did.
It's been moved and second, to approve the treasurer's report. Good work. I know that the city has been anxious to get some completeness about this, and we've been able to support that as well as generate what we've got here. With a move and a second, may I hear a vote of all those in favor? All those against? It sounds unanimous that we have a positive vote. It's been moved and approved. Let's go on, Ms. Allen.
So item number 13 is 2024 election of officers. This happens in the December meeting every year. Unless it can't, but it traditionally has happened. And then the officers will take their positions as of January 1st. So currently, the slate of officers that we have in place is, obviously Mr. Harvey is the chair. Mr. Wallace is the vice chair, and Ms. Clark has been serving in two roles, the secretary and the treasurer. And so the nominating committee has done polls and talked to a number of people. And so the slate that we would be bringing forward potentially would be Mr. Harvey continuing as the chair, Mr. Wallace continuing as the vice chair, and Ms. Clark continuing as the secretary. We do have a slot open, and that is the treasurer, and we don't currently have someone who has volunteered to take that role. So I did check with council, and we really should have that role filled, and it should be filled by a director. And so since we are short directors, hence we are short, bodies to fill the executive roles. So I'm in a quandary because I don't have a treasurer as of yet, and would like to have someone in that role, but really don't have a good option right now. So I'm just turning it over to the group.
Okay. Council, do you have any ideas for us in that treasurer role?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry. Well, the bylaws require that there be a treasurer. The treasurer has to be one of the directors. The treasurer doesn't necessarily have to do really anything by way of accounting work or detail work. That could be delegated. And I don't know if that makes the current treasurer feel any better about the prospect of continuing as treasurer. But it would be, you don't have much choice, and I don't know what to tell you to do if you don't have people who are willing to do it, who have said they are willing to do it. You have at least one board member who I guess we don't know whether Trevor would be willing to serve. I don't know anyway. And so, Mr. Chair, I apologize. I don't have anything more specific to suggest. I'm sorry, I stopped too soon. It is possible, as we know with Ms. Clark, to hold two positions at once. And that could apply to either of the other office holders. Perhaps I'm being too subtle.
No, you're straightforward.
Cunning though you may be, straightforward is part of that, right?
That's right.
Board members, any ideas or any thoughts around this particular item?
Well, if Mr. Clark is not willing to continue those duties, I know as a chair, you're very involved in day-to-day activities anyway. So my recommendation, not to push it off of my plate, but just given the fact that you are more connected to what's going on day to day with administration, I would say that if anybody's gonna be the dual role guy, it makes sense to be you. I don't have time for any more meetings anymore. Yeah, so I'm not interested in being a treasurer.
So,
And as I was saying before, that I was in these roles temporarily until we got more board members, so that's one of the reasons why I'm asking that Victoria, get some more board members on here, because this year is the,
speaking to your mic for me.
this year, is when I would select to either stay or remove myself from the board. And that's a pondering thought at this point, so that's why I'm in a temporary state. Because I do not want to make agreement to something that I will not be here for the whole term.
Okay. So a couple thoughts I'll share with you. Ben, your idea, noble as it may be, this group we have, small but mighty, thin as it is with all of our normal duties in the life, puts us in a position that we are sitting here now, like for transparency and for fiduciary separation, right? I find it difficult for me to be the chair and the treasurer.
I didn't want to include that part.
I mean,
I didn't support my argument, so I didn't include that part.
that you thought about it. Absolutely. So there's three proposals that I would counter to you all with, right? One is that Ms. Clark, recognizing what you expressed to us and respecting that you consider retaining the position of treasurer as we assertively work with the city mayor and the city council to onboard additional members. Number one idea. Number two idea is, Ben, that you take on the role of treasurer, and I will certainly help carry the water. But the household I was raised in says that transparency and separation, fiduciary, one man can't do two things. There's no check and balance there, and we're gonna be checking and balancing, right? So that's the second idea, right, that I have. Willing to do the work then, but never will we have a situation where there's no checking and balance, right? So those are the two ideas that I have. So Ms. Clark, again, initially to ask if you would respectfully hold on to the position. In the near term, as we aggressively and assertively bring on more members with the support of the city council and the mayor's office. And let's go back and review it in 6 months. I think council, we could do something special like that. If you have any comments, we'd welcome them right now.
You could appoint somebody, elect somebody now. It could be any one of the three of you can wear two hats under the bylaws. If a member, if that officer wearing the treasurer hat decides to resign from that position, then the board would have the authority to fill the position midstream, so to speak.
So those are ideas afoot. May I hear any motions in one direction or another?
Still thinking,
Still
I
thinking.
just wonder if there's, I mean. We haven't had conversations with Trevor, the mayor, are they interested at all? I mean, has there been any interest or?
I did have a conversation with Trevor, we were playing phone tag a bit because when we were talking, we were in areas we couldn't communicate, but I didn't get an affirmation from him that he was interested. I did make him aware that that the opportunity existed, but I didn't get anything from him. And I haven't been able to clarify whether, the mayor is eligible to be the treasurer because she's appointed via, the mayor's position on this board is much more of an ex officio position, but it's voting as opposed to our ex officio non-voting members. And I suspect it would be a conflict for her to hold that office. If you don't do anything, unfortunately, the bylaws would indicate that Ms. Clark would stay in the role because you haven't filled it with anyone else. I just want to bring that out there.
Well, I think, since that's gonna be what it's gonna be anyway, I strongly suggest that the mayor make a move. Because that's part of her job also. To put new board members on here, so we got 2 seats. And that should happen soon, not in 4 months from now, within the first of the year.
We have 2 seats that are not tied up in the lawsuit, but we have 6 seats open altogether, plenty of seats open.
Okay.
So I think I'm hearing that the nomination committee is proposing a slate that would be very similar, if not exactly what we have now.
Yeah, I'll continue until June. Till June. That's what my term is.
Hopefully, they'll before that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The idea of having.
You Do I hear a call for a motion?
Jesus.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second, has been given, for the current slate. May we have a vote? All those in favor? In that this is an officer, motion and vote, we will do a roll call vote. So the record can reflect specifically who voted where.
Wallace,
Aye.
Clark,
Yes.
Arlene.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move on to our next item, Ms. Hammerman.
Item number 14 is to discuss and approve the CEO evaluation policy and procedure, which starts on page 20. So this has been a long time coming, but here we are with a proposed policy and procedure, which falls on page 20, 21, and 22. This is sort of an SOP, if you will, of how to manage through the evaluation process of the CEO. It has some timelines and dates assigned to it. Page 23 to 25 indicates the competencies and strategic goals that should be considered during the evaluation process. So the governance competencies are on page 20 and 21, governance, leadership competencies, communication, community relation competencies, and fiscal management competencies. So those are standard competencies that we're recommending you adopt, measuring the performance of the CEO. And that would be worth 25% of the evaluation. Then there's 25% of the evaluation that is measured on the goals from the EDC multicultural 10-point plan. And you can see those 4 items in specific. The 10-point plan obviously has 10 points, but we chose to only identify items from 3 of them for this year because this is just an annual document. And then there's 25% out of the 4 goals from the, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to change that, it's 5 goals from the EDC 5-year plan. So again, going to the 5-year plan and picking out what we would want to be accomplishing this year. And then the last 25% comes from the housing champion goals as outlined in the housing champion document. And then these are the items, those 5 items that we chose to recommend to the board for the items you would measure the CEO on. So having said that, there's a sample here of what the evaluation tool would look like. So this beginning on, sorry, I can't see this, page 26, 27, 28, 29, and on to page 32. This demonstrates what your evaluation tool will look like. So this is what you will be assigned to fill out during the evaluation process, which I think begins July or August of this year, because we want to report out on a short year. So this will be a short year, so that then falls into a pattern of a 12-month evaluation. So the board action here would be to approve the policy and procedure guidelines. To also in that motion, I think we would want to approve the specific goals and competencies as laid out, and then approve the format of the evaluation tool. Yeah. It sounded pretty smart. I'm gonna write that down.
And opening this up for discussion, I think it's more than appropriate. Without the formalness of the parliamentary procedure, then, you know, this is what we've been working at for a long time. And I've been part of the talk back and forth with the HR firm, right? And this has been gone through with a pretty good code. It gives us a lot of structure that I think the board will be able to evaluate objectively, right, its leader, be it Virgie or someone else, and give some structure for, an environment that is manageable and accountable, right? And that was one of my real big things, is that having some clear-cut accountability for the senior management of the EDC. And I think this gets us a huge step in that direction. Can it be further refined in time? I'm certain it can. But clearly, this gives us a much better, better structure. Vicky, as one of the points that you had made some time ago, was, you know, is it a 0, is it a 1, what is it? This helps us with that as well. Right? So, I've been at this quite a bit, Ben, and Vicky, and been part of, you know, the ongoing meetings back and forth. So that's what I can share with you all. And I'm comfortable with it. Yes, that's important to say.
So you see the motion?
I need a motion.
I would make a motion that we would approve the policy and procedures document for the CEO's performance evaluations, policies, procedures, and all accompanying tools that go along with that process.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion. It's been given a second. May I hear a vote? All those in favor? In that this is an important item, a benchmarking item, I will ask that we do a roll call vote.
Harvey,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
It is carried unanimously. And I feel real good. This is a tool being got in place now. I think this is a tool we've been looking for. So I think this removes a lot of ambiguity and a lot. So this was a good goal for us this year. We said we were gonna work through this and we've got it done. Okay. This item, can we go on to the next agenda item?
Next agenda item is on page 33. This is part of your action as the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board. I will tell you that some other entities similar to us just need to be clear. I've heard that they close the EDC meeting and open a BRA meeting, and then close the BRA meeting and open, you know, the other entities, because we're 3 boards in one, the TIFA, the BRA, the EDC. We don't do it that way. We haven't ever done it that way. I think what we're doing is okay, because we clearly label our meetings as all 3. So, but at this point, you're wearing the hat of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board as opposed to the EDC board. So just so you're aware. So this is the project. This is Brick Street Lofts. This is in the 400 block on Superior, and this construction was actually completed in 2020. So our residential upstairs, commercial downstairs, and somehow between transition of leaders and COVID and I don't know what all, we're behind on paying this developer their reimbursable charges, their eligible charges. So we've spent a significant amount of time bringing this account up to date, and we currently owe the developer $2,713 for calendar year 2021. We owe them $23,642 for calendar year 2022, and we owe them $11,312 for the summer taxes of 2023. The winter taxes obviously have not come out yet, and so they've not been paid. So we don't calculate the reimbursable piece of that until the taxes are out and have been paid. So the request today is that the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board authorize this payment, which I will then submit on my way out. Hopefully today I have it with me, and we will submit that for payment, and then the developer will be able to get paid before the end of the year and get caught up. The way these are calculated, just to be clear, is you look at the capture and you calculate the amount of capture that is eligible for reimbursables, and that is the amount that is, the difference between the base tax and the new tax based on the improvements. So once you have the capture and you have the amount of eligible costs, you begin to pay that out. There's a 12-year plan behind this. So this, you'll see this every year. And so we'll begin to be more timely with these payments for this developer. Side note, the developer has asked that they be reimbursed interest because of the delay in payments. Just have a lot on my plate right now, and I just did not get to that interest calculation, so you'll probably see that come from me on the January 11th board meeting. So there'll be one more transaction, I just couldn't get to it, for this meeting.
Make a motion to approve the brownfield development.
We have a motion and a second. You know, Ben, one of the things that I've said is we're gonna be transparent. We're urging for the sake of the gallery and the viewing audience, will you give us just a 2-minute synopsis for the citizens of Albion, what, in layman's terms, what this is about? What we are doing, is that possible that you do that for us? What we're reimbursing a developer, right? So
I can do it, yes.
certainly.
So if you remember the treasurer's report, Fund 243 is where all this activity occurs. And that's called the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Fund. And so everything is segregated that we do in funds. This is part of the in and out of that fund. So a developer comes to us and says, we want to rehabilitate a piece of property that's not, is obsolete or mostly obsolete. And you measure the beginning balance of what that piece of property is worth now, and then you project out what it would be worth after the rehabilitation, and a schedule is prepared that the taxes that are created from that incremental increase get put into the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority fund, and then it pays that developer for eligible costs out of that fund until all of their eligible costs are covered. Eligible costs would be typically remediation of environmental issues, demolition of current property that's on site, and on a few other very specific costs. So it's not everything. So you can't use it to build, you mostly use it to repair. So in Albion, this is a tool that's important for us because we have a fair amount of blighted and vacant property. So you'll see this brownfield tool used across most of downtown would be in that area, and then also in other parts like uptown and Austin Avenue site. So you'll see this over and over. It's a local tool that's used to increase the likelihood of development. So every year we just have to calculate the amount of the capture that comes in from that incremental tax, and then apply it against the schedule, and then make sure the developer gets paid. So in this case, I don't have a number with me, but in any project, there's a targeted number of eligible costs to repay. And once you've reached that number, then the remainder of those brownfield redevelopment monies that come in from that incremental tax then go into the RLF, the revolving loan fund committee, and then you can loan those out to new developers. So the two winners in this are those incremental taxes will fund the eligible costs for the developer. What's remaining will get deposited into the RLF to help monetize future developers on a loan basis. And then after that, usually 12 to 15 year time period, then the whole property reverts onto the traditional property tax rolls, and then you increase the taxes.
Good.
How much is the interest? If they're gonna occur, what, can you give us a idea of?
I don't know, because I'm gonna have to make some decisions about when they should have anticipated the payments, because these are behind. So this isn't traditional, so I have to figure out it's gonna be a subjective number. I've gotta figure out when they should have expected to get paid. And then back into, you know, when we did pay them and they wanna be compensated for that time missing. That, in this particular case, they should have been paid. They should have just been paid quicker, but whatever process didn't occur between the assessor's office and between the city office and between the EDC office. So it's a very different it's an atypical situation, which is why I haven't had time to calculate what that might be.
And that will be a vote item, at the point that you presented.
Well, and it needs to be, so you'll have to, it's going to have to come out of, we're gonna have to figure out where it comes from. Because it's not part of the agreement, but I understand the concern, I don't have it to present today.
And I would look for that to be a vote item by the board. Versus, assertion, right?
Okay.
Any other questions around that? Thanks for the explanation. I think everyone gets a better understanding of it. And that's important. Let's move on to item,
I don't think you took the vote on that, since it's a dollar amount, probably roll call. You have a motion and a second.
So roll call first.
Wallace,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Harvey,
yes,
sorry about that. The next item, are a couple of items that came out of the revolving loan fund committee meeting, which was Monday. We have 3 items for your consideration and approval. All 3 of these items have already been approved by the revolving loan fund committee, but because, that committee reports up through this board, then this board also needs to opine and approve these. So the first one, is a memo outlining, the Inside Out loan extension. Inside Out is an organization here in Albion that runs a car detailing, job business, sorry, I don't know why that word was stuck, but it was. So they do car detailing, they will provide, services on site, they were operating out of a physical location, but that isn't the case now, so it's pretty much remote. They have changed their business model. They are not able to make the payments that were required from the original loan. So they have offered that they can afford to make payments of about $350 a month on their prior loan. Their loan is $37,849.83, almost $38,000. What we are proposing and the revolving loan funding committee is recommending to you to approve is a new loan, which starts on January 1st. We picked 5.61% interest because, the requirements of the revolving loan fund, term sheets is 66% of, the interest rate at the time. Right now, the standing interest rate is 8.5%, so 66% of that is 5.61. So that's where we came up with the interest rate, and because they could make the $350 payment, we adjusted the amortization schedule for the 10 years to accommodate that. So if you approve this, we will get this new loan documentation out to Inside Out and expect that payments will be made. We will set the due date the middle of the month, and we would be then monitoring for payments to come in on that loan. The ideal here is to be able to capture these dollars back, because even though we are excited to support new businesses, we also need those dollars to come back to support additional businesses. So they've been in default for a year, and we are a little slow to catch up, but of course we had a little break in leadership, so we're just getting back at this, and this is the proposal to begin collecting payments as of January 1st.
And that's a written contract, that's written.
It will be once you approve this, yes.
And I heard you say it was usually 10 years that you were allowed to pay back.
So we extended it to 10 years because they told us they could only afford 350. Their first initial payment was 500. And then we offered to them, could you make $650 payments to try to catch up, but they weren't able to do that. So we've extended their loan period to 10 years to accommodate, cash flow that they could manage.
And we do apply interest or not.
We do, it's at 5.61%.
What's the minimum time for a person that has this type of loan?
It all depends on the lending agency and what they're willing to accommodate. So the revolving loan fund is designed to lend to people that usually wouldn't qualify for traditional lending. So I couldn't answer that because it would depend on whether they have collateral, whether they don't have collateral. In this case, there isn't any. 10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It's a really long time. But it's all they can afford. I hate to put them in a situation where they're just not gonna pay anything.
Okay, so maybe, because this is happening, this is the first time it happened, we need to look at, having something in place, so if somebody else comes in, we're not all creating a will every time somebody comes in just because of where they at. We kind of need to have a standard. You know, when somebody defaults and can't make a payment, you agree then?
Yeah, but I also think we have to be flexible with them. And I
Yeah.
think that I think this is more than fair and flexible and. So I would agree with it, that we need a motion to discuss, right?
Right?
So are we gonna, motion number 16 altogether? Is that how you anticipate it?
We can.
Yeah. Cause they're all the revolving loan fund committee's recommendations, so I would just say I would make the motion to approve. Item 16 as recommended by the, loan fund committee.
I say,
It's been, motioned and a second has been provided. Do I hear a vote?
So I think now you want me to further explain.
Any additional discussion? Yeah.
Any additional discussion? Okay.
So any more discussion on the inside out one or go to move?
Are they still in business?
remote.
So on the next one, match on name, I mentioned this earlier that Galazio's EDC was awarded $25,000 award to support the, expansion of Galazio's for outdoor seating. However, they're not able to spend the $25,000 up front and wait for the reimbursement. So they've asked if the revolving loan fund would loan them the cost for the expansion, and then when the state pays the reimbursement, then we would then get reimbursed from the state's reimbursement. So this request is to spend $25,000 to provide the seed money for Galazio's to build the external seating area, the outside seating area. And if we approve this today, they have a deadline of having to have that completed by March 31st. So we would get this started, they would need to have that completed. If they can't get it completed because of the weather, the state would likely give an extension, but we would like to see it completed on time. This is already an extension. When they won the award, I wasn't aware that they weren't going to be able to begin the process on their own. So this is another area of process improvement that we talked about, the revolving loan fund committee, to make sure that there's seed money for some of this projects when they get awarded. So this is a stopgap, if you will, to help keep this project going forward. This loan would not have interest because it's so short term. Theoretically, it should be done in 3 months, so we didn't set an interest rate for this one. So this would be, again, $25,000 to fund the external seating area, and then the money would come back from the match on main project.
So they want to match on Main.
So we actually win it because the EDC applies on behalf of, uh, businesses in the area.
Mhm.
So this is our third one. We did, two in the past. This is our third one. We won on their behalf. They would be the benefactor, but they don't have the seed money to do the work because it's a reimbursable grant. So with the reimbursement would then come back to us.
So that reimbursable grant that they won, the technicality of it is they have to put forward the money until the project is finished, then they get the money back.
Right.
So,
The risk here is if we begin process and the construction's not completed, or there's where they miss the timeline, so that it's not without risk. But again, revolving loan fund is meant to cover areas where where bankers are risk averse, they were turned down, and so that's part of the requirement to qualify for this.
so as the fund, how do we reduce our risk? I understand that we're gonna put forward $25,000 on their behalf so they can do the fiscal work by March ending, if I understand correctly, right? So how do we ensure that they meet the obligations in the timeline so that we're not left, the fund is not left, if they fail, right?
So I think you have two options. You could have EDC staff manage the project and have the amounts paid go to the contractors directly. I would do that. And then secondly, you could try to pull collateral. But I don't believe in this case that's gonna be the best option. So the option I would take is that you would require the EDC staff to manage the project and the outflow of cash and keep the thing going.
I think it's pretty, I don't think there's a lot of risk in this situation. So I think everyone wants the project completed, everybody's gonna complete the project, so.
Right.
And then what about,
The third one is, Albion is ILC Dale Carnegie Phase 2. So, this board actually approved the Phase 1 payment that was loaned out, on behalf of particular employers. And this is the Phase 2 version, so their classes are wrapping up, they graduate, 2 weeks from a week from Tuesday. So they are just finishing up their 12 weeks. Albion College has asked that we, pre-fund their fees so that those that are participating can have their certificates at graduation, which they will get their certificates at graduation. And the revolving loan fund committee supported, the outlay of up to $29,750. I did check with the Ralph Nichols group, and I do know now that outlay will only be $26,250 because two of the graduates that were slated to graduate won't. It'll be in a later program. So we only want to loan out what the grant coming in from the state will pay for. So we will loan out $26,250. And then it will sit as receivable on our books until the employers have received their reimbursement, their employers will reimburse the fund. So it's a matter of paperwork and timekeeping, but pretty low risk because they're at the end of their time, we know who's gonna graduate. So it's just a matter of getting the paperwork completed, and the college has been really good about doing their part of the paperwork, so we haven't had any problems. So those are the three recommendations from the revolving loan fund committee.
Any questions? Any other questions? No. Are you ready for a motion?
we have a motion,
We're ready for a vote?
Yeah.
Okay, may I call for a vote? Vicky Clark, please go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
Ben? And I'll vote yes also. So that's approved. Let's go to item number 17.
Item number 17, this you don't have in your packet because I finished it up last night, so I'll pass this around. And I apologize for how small it is.
Here we go, dude. Now that there's a second.
No, it's, oh, for me. So in our haste and urgency to complete the 2024 budget, we did not spend any time on the 2023 budget amendment. So we are now coming to this board with the budget amendment for 2023. The way you can read this, and again, I apologize, it's small print. The budget amendment itself is on the left-hand column of that that's bracketed. And then the remaining amended budget is to the left, to the right of that. So the original budget, for example, for the first item of revenues in Fund 243 was 221,373. We're increasing that proposed budget because of some additional funds that came in. And so then the new budget for the end of the year of 23 would be 248,900. So as an example, that's how this works. The yellow highlighted items, there should be 4 yellow highlighted items. And it is the net revenue appropriation number, the change in each budget. So for Fund 243, due to the increase in dollars that are coming in and going out on these brownfield plans we just talked about, the change in the positive revenue would be $9,000. So that money will be transferred out to the revolving loan fund committee. So that'll be a net zero as opposed to leaving a profit in that fund. That's all with the new understanding of how these projects that are coming to an end resolve. The next yellow highlighted item you'll see on the 3rd page in, this would be the EDC Fund 244. This is a net negative change. In other words, we had projected a $407,000 positive. We are only contributing to the bottom line 354. So we are, in other words, we are changing the expenditures at 52,974. I will tell you that the bulk of this item is due to the settlement package that was issued, so that was not foreseen. The TIFA fund, which would be, the next page is a yellow, again, another yellow number, which is 55,161. Due to the fact that additional revenues were recognized in the fund that were not previously budgeted, and expenses were not accomplished as needed. We actually are increasing our net revenue to appropriation number by 55,000. So our new contribution to the bottom line will be 74,000. And then the last number is Fund 296. This is at the this is on the last page, and you'll see that we are increasing our accumulation of funds here by 153,000, and that's because we're now understanding that when the Marriott brownfield plan completed, those excess dollars now funnel through from the DDA to the BRA and into the RLF. It's alphabet soup, but that's how we now know that that's how we increase the RLF fund. So that'll be an increase in transfer in based on the fact that the Marriott plan is now completed, the developers paid off, now the excess funds end up with a revolving loan fund. So our net is an increase to the bottom line of $146,000. And so that is the totality of the FY 23 amended budget proposal. We just need a motion and then discussion.
A motion to approve the 2023 EDC TIP of BRAR budget amendment.
I have a motion and it has been seconded. Can I hear a vote?
Discussion? Any questions?
Any questions, discussion? No?
Clark,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
Good.
The next line item is somewhat expanded from prior years, so these are the 2024 meeting schedules. You might recall during our MML training that they recommended that if there's a likelihood or a chance that multiple board members from ABC will be present at committee meetings, that we publish that schedule ahead of time so that it can be subject to Open Meetings Act. So we are doing that this year as opposed to we've done in the past. So page 37, you have our regular board meetings. That's the meetings you're in now. These would be the schedule for next year. Page 38, you have the executive board meeting, which as we know is typically a week prior to this meeting. The housing task force meetings, as laid out would be, on page 39. The only meetings, by the way, that we have here would be the first two. So the rest are at the EDC office or on Zoom or virtual. So the housing task force, that would be the regular meeting. So if the community wants to engage, they'll know when those are coming up. Workforce development, or the next page after that, community engagement. The Albion restaurant group, looks like community engagement might be here twice, so I don't know if they have to meet twice or not, so that might be a mistake, it's in here. And then there are others as needed on page 44, so the goal here is to accommodate getting these on the meeting schedules ahead of time, getting them published, and if they do end up attracting multiple board members, will be covered for Open Meetings Act. So that's kind of how we're operating this, these approvals at this point.
I would make a motion to approve the 2024 board meeting schedule.
It's been, motion, second has been provided, may I hear the vote?
All those in favor?
5.
Aye.
The last two items for action are two resolutions. The first is on page 45. This is a resolution authorizing execution of the MI Healthy Climate Corporate Partnership application. This is an application that would give us an intern, so we consistently look for interns that can help us, so this fund would cover that cost. This would be a paid internship, and this application probably, sorry, I don't have the date of the submission. It was last week maybe, so we typically bring these to the next board meeting to make sure that you're aware these are been submitted. So there's no match involved with this. The idea would be that we would be able to accommodate an intern in the office. And then the second one is a resolution authorizing execution of National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. This grant has not been applied for yet. There was a letter of interest that was due from our office, which we did submit, and we did receive back. It's kind of a gatekeeping process, so you send in a letter of interest, and then you get on the list of people that are allowed to apply. So they do that typically so they can get a sense of what they have coming at them. So we did the letter of interest, got back the allow us to apply, so now we will begin that process. This would be money that I know it sounds crazy that it's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, but they do serve all the Great Lakes areas. And we would be able to use this for planning and for work relative to either the new industrial park or some of the downtown facilities or anywhere really, even like Boston Avenue would be a good target too. So money that we can use for planning and environmental upkeep, which you know is one of our goals. So haven't applied yet, but this would be a resolution allowing us to do so.
I would move to motion to approve the resolutions.
I second.
Can I hear a vote? Roll call vote.
All those in, roll call, Harvey,
Well,
all those in favor?
yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none.
None.
That's all you have to hear from me today.
All right, great. With that being said, do we have any discussions or comments that our board members would like to make, or general topics to be covered?
So the city of Albion, do you have anybody to give an update from the city? I don't think so. Today, Albion Township Sheridan, Dick did say he was, busy today. He had some appointments, so he's not here for that reason.
I am not speaking for the city, but I am speaking for something that happened at our, city council meeting on Monday night. And I talked to Virgie about this, it's the Mike 23 Foundation, Mike McKissick. He works with youth, and I talked with him, and he came in and he spoke to the city council meeting on Monday night. You might want to look at that meeting, because he gave a detailed, understanding of what his group does. They take children who have problems, they take children who, have been in jail and different, and they train them, they, mentor them, and they repair houses, and they're looking for houses, and so he came and spoke to Albion about it. I called him and I asked him if he would allow me to give you his information, and he said yes, he would be more than happy. And I've seen their work in Lansing. They're out of Lansing. I've seen their work in Lansing. It is absolutely fantastic. They did a house here in Albion, and when I stopped by the place to see the young men, some of them were out of jail, but they were so polite, so kind, and they were busy doing their job. And this is something, I'm not sure, but I think he's asking for money. He's just asking for it because he said they need houses and things to work on. And so, Virgie, I'm going to give this to you, and if you all would check in, his number's on the back of my card.
Thank you.
Check in our last council meeting because he was on first. And you can find out what he's talking about. And I think this would be a good thing for Albion. Thank you.
So, Councilman, thank you very, very much for that, and you're it's a little out of order, but it's appropriate. I did have an opportunity to watch, the council meeting. I have shared with Ms. Ammerman specifically that we will ask him to provide a presentation for this body at the beginning of the year. Further, his program, from what I observed, is absolutely great. And we are charged at the EDC as the Albion Housing Champions, right? So I think it falls directly Ben and Vicky under our purview. And we will look to foster a relationship and see how and what we might be able to do. Part of the infrastructure has been going on here. You heard Virgie talk about a project that was done this last summer to identify lots and the like. And so we've got some mechanisms that we may be able to employ to help in that regard. But that I saw, I thought was absolutely great. I thought it was a good presentation. And
too, there's so many, there's quite a few houses, parents have died. The youth, the family is not keeping the houses up, they're not doing anything with them, but they're evidently paying taxes, but not doing anything with them. And it seems like, I think it's just come to a point where the city is beginning to look run down, and some of this stuff needs to be taken care of, and this may be a program who can help with that, so. Thank you.
so we certainly applaud your coming to share with us. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. And we'll be attentive to that, and we'll do some follow-up. A motion to excuse any absent members that we may have.
So,
Approval required for that? All in favor? Public comment.
Dr. Williams, 809 North Albion Street. It's funny, I came out today, Ms. Green stole my thunder. I'm just coming to talk to you guys about the 1923 Foundation, and hopefully we can foster a few more conversations about that, and help Mr. McKissick and his foundation do some great things here in the community. I also know that we've had discussions in the past about different programs, Dream Bill Rise, a couple other youth bill programs that are supposed to take place here in the community, and I would love to foster conversations around how there may be some overlap there, but how we can also work together collaboratively so that the resources that we have, I know one of the things that Mr. McKissick was referring to was that he works directly with the police force there in Lansing. They work pretty tight knit to help the youth, and it also helps to build those relationships. So if we can come at building relationships with these youth in multiple ways, then I think we should do so. And I'd love to take the opportunity to speak with y'all maybe after the meeting just quickly, and then we'll follow back up. I also want to say I really appreciate the help in bringing new housing to precinct 1 and Citizens Tract 36. The workforce housing that will be brought there will help to relieve some of the demand for housing that we have in the community, and also help to beautify a blighted lot that has been utilized as a path of sorts, but is filled with trash and a lot of different debris. This is a path that I've walked my entire life. Recently, when I went to drop my car off, I walked through the path, you know what I mean? So to know that there's going to be a development there after so many years is definitely beneficial, and I'm thankful that we can get that process going, and we were able to execute on helping the developers, and it's a win for the city. So thank you all.
Thank you. We have anyone else in the council gallery that would like to make a public comment? Do we have anyone in our Zoom audience that would like to make a comment for us today? Seeing no raised hands in the Zoom audience. Legal counsel, do you have any comments for us or anything we should be warned of or advised on?
No.
With that being said, thank our audience for your comments. Thank you very much, Councilman. Our drive is to do small business and big business. We've got ourselves a project for an industrial park that we're going to work hard to try to get it going for big business to stimulate the economy, and recognizing housing is always needed here. There's some opportunities that we've just seized on and looking to seize more of them. And so that's the business that we are about. I'm happy and excited to also just share that, you know, our old industrial park, some of the property remaining there, though only a few parcels are being sold. We've been moving, we've gotten some movement on some log jams there, Ben, and can report clearly that we've got some takers on a few pieces of property. Sure, there's going to be some other things that are going out there pretty quickly, right? That hopefully you all will become aware of. And so we're on the move. We're strong, but we're mighty and moving forward. With that, and if there's any objections, we'll adjourn today's meeting at 9:10 a.m.
We adjourn.
Aye.